Welcome back, you guys. So today is going to be the very first car video that we do here on Drink Smoke Build, and it's not going to be anything special, just kind of an introduction to what I've got here in the S10 and what I'm going to be doing to it in the future. And then of course I want your input in the comments on what you want me to do and how you want me maybe to do some different things on the S10. Now, of course, I'm going to take a lot of that with a grain of salt and decide exactly what I want to do. But I would love your input on what you think I should do. So today we're going to go through and do some routine maintenance here on the S10. It's been sitting for a while. I only start it up about once every couple of months, drive it for a little bit, and I think I've got bad gas. I think the gas has turned. There's 20 gallons in there, so I did put stable in it almost exactly a year ago, and it's not running right. So I'm going to drain it. I've got a whole bunch of old gas cans that I'm going to put the old fuel in, put some new fuel in it, and hopefully that will fix the problem there. And then of course I'm going to do oil change. I've already flushed the radiator. I'm going to go through and put on the doors. I've had this thing for 2 years and I have not put the doors on it since I've owned it. So I'm definitely going to be doing that, and then going through and doing some other maintenance items and basically just getting the thing ready to tool around in. And if everything goes right, you will have already seen me driving this at the beginning of the video. If not, then well, I didn't get it running properly. So without further ado, let's get to it. So first thing we're going to do today is clean out the coolant bottle. As you can tell, it is extremely nasty. I've already flushed the coolant out of the radiator, but I have yet to clean the bottle. So we're going to do that first, and then I'll go and drain the bad gas out of the tank and put them in those holding containers right there. After I exchange the bad gas, then we'll do an oil change, and then I'm also going to swap the battery out from my Suburban, which isn't running, into this. And then I'll also do a check on all the tires and make sure they're all topped off and have enough air in them, and then we'll go for a drive. And that was as far as she would move the rest of the day, and never under her own power. So I'm going to take you through and tell you what I'm doing here and what ends up happening. So basically right here, as you can see, I'm trying to get my siphon pump to work and get it to drain the gas out of the tank. Well, there's a anti-siphon stop somewhere in the down tube, so I ended up taking off the vent pipe and pushing it directly down into the top of the tank. And what did I find out? The tank was pretty much empty, probably a gallon, maybe a gallon and a half gas in there, and I thought, well, maybe that was the problem. So, as you can see, after fiddling with it for about half an hour, I decided to put it back together, grab the full tank of gas, and pour it into the truck, and hopefully fix the idle problem because, well, it was out of gas. And that ended up not being the issue either, which you will actually see in the video here coming up now. I get in there, and after switching the battery and go to crank up, and of course the battery is dead. Well, got to go get the van and jump the S10, so we'll crank that up here real quick. So as you can tell, I'm able to get it cranked up and get it started, but I got to keep my foot pumping on the gas to keep it from dying at idle. And you know, these older cars, maybe that could be from it just not being warm enough and needing to warm up, but that is not the case because I've tried to drive it like this and it dies on me even after it's warmed up. I think that there's either a fuel system problem or an electrical problem, so I'm going to start by doing something I need to do anyway because it's never been done since I've had the truck, and that is replace all the spark plugs, replace all the spark plug wires, replace the rotor and cap, and I got all those on order and I'll pick those parts up tomorrow. That's why I wasn't able to finish the project tonight. And then if that doesn't fix the problem, then it could be the fuel pump, because the gas tank was actually reading full, and that sometimes is a symptom of a bad fuel pump. Now, it could be something else too, like maybe a clogged fuel filter or a bad fuel line, or who knows. It could be all sorts of different things that really honestly need to be done on this truck anyway. It's a mess. I don't know exactly what. Probably spark plugs or wires. Trying to remember if I've ever replaced them on this thing. I'll do some testing and we'll find out. So there you have it. That was my day in a nutshell. And really kind of my whole life in a nutshell. So, as you saw today, as what seems to happen to me on every project I do, I run into one problem that can't be solved until I fix another problem, that can't be solved until I fix another problem, and so on and down the list. And I'll go through and I'll explain exactly all of that on what happened with the truck here, as well as giving you a full background on this little truck and how I acquired her and plans that I have for her, and go on from there. So this last part of the video is basically going to be story time, so stick around. I've got kind of an interesting story about this truck coming up right now. So in January of 2017, I believe. So it's been 3 years now that I bought this truck. So January of 2017, I saw an ad on Facebook Marketplace for about 2 or 3 months. This truck started out, I think, at $2,500 and came down to $2,000, and then down to $1,800, and then down to $1,500, and then down to $1,200, and then it came down to $1,000. And when it came down to $1,000, I gave him a call, because I know that that aluminum bed back there is worth more than the whole rest of this truck put together, and it's definitely worth more than $1,000. So I thought, well, heck, I could scrap the truck and sell the bed and end up making a little money on the deal. Well, I bought it, and I drove it for about a month, and I fell in love. This tiny little 2.8 liter V6 that only puts out 120 horsepower from the factory, and probably is only putting out about 100 now, with this top cut off, the door's gone, super light aluminum bed on it. It is a fun little truck to drive. It is like a go-kart, and I know go-karts that cost more than $1,000. So this truck has been an absolute blast, and I've gotten my money's worth out of it, but I want to fix it up a little bit, use it more as a daily driver, and be able to use it for work, for pleasure, and as kind of a everyday grocery getter or whatnot. And with it being so cheap, I figure, you know, it's cheaper than going out and buying another car that you got a ton of maintenance headache with. So this one being a easy car to work on and fairly low miles for what it is. I think it had 160,000 miles when I bought it, and I put about 5,000 on it since then. Not a lot. Like I said, I don't drive it much. It's really just been kind of a pleasure toy for me until recently. So my full intention when I bought this was to replace the seats, put the doors back on, finish out the chop top. I'll show you guys in future videos. It was a chop job. It was not a really awesome cut, that's for sure. So I need to go through and completely finish all of the edges and the back edge, and then to really make it safe, even with doors on it, to make it safe, I need to put a roll cage in it. And they make a roll cage specifically for this truck, full roll cage. It's only 250 bucks, and I'm gonna buy it, bolt it in, and give me a little bit of protection if I am in some sort of accident. Because right now, without the roof, there isn't a whole lot of structural integrity to the rest of the cab. Even with the doors put on it, it would definitely taco up if I got in an accident more than 30 miles an hour. So absolutely going to get a cheap roll cage and throw in it. I'm also going to replace the seats. I was going to go with racing buckets, but I've decided I want something a little more comfortable, a little more practical. So I'm probably going to pull the seats out of a newer Blazer, or maybe even a newer Chevy pickup. Something nicer, something with the armrest. Obviously I don't need electric, just manual seats, but something nicer in it that holds me in place better, and I can put a 4 or 5 point harness on it. And I'm definitely going to do that no matter what kind of seats I put in it. There's going to be a 4 or 5 point harness bolted to the frame. I've already switched out the steering wheel. When I got it, he cut the top off of the steering wheel so he could see the speedometer. It's absolutely the craziest, most ridiculous thing to drive when you only have half a steering wheel. It's bonkers. I could only do it for about 3 months, and I went out and I spent like $60 on a nice steering wheel, and I replaced it with the full-on racing steering wheel that I absolutely would rather have than half a steering wheel. So that and mounting the box to the back, the toolbox to the back, are the only mods that I've made to this truck. I've had this thing for 3 years and I haven't even put the doors on it. So once we get through and we get the thing running right again, we get all of the spark plugs changed, all of the spark plug wires changed, the rotor, the cap, maybe have to do the fuel pump, definitely going to do a fuel filter. I'm going to go through and do all the regular maintenance stuff that should have been done when I bought it, and I did an oil change, and I flushed the radiator fluid, and I went through and checked all the fluids and stuff, but I didn't do as good a job as I could have. And that's what I'm going to do now, and hopefully it gets running up to snuff again. If not, then I'll just go through and start testing circuits until I can find exactly what I think is causing the problem and go from there. But again, I could test the spark plugs, I could test the wires, the rotor, the cap, but I don't need to do that because I need to replace them anyway. I need to replace the fuel filter anyway. This is not stuff that I should have let go as long as I did. So even if that's not the problem, it needs to be done. So that's kind of where I start. And like I said, I want to put a cage on it, put doors on it, put some nicer seats in it. I'm going to completely redo the front end. I'll actually show you in some pictures here, this side, or maybe this side, or maybe both sides, of some other S-10 stock grills and then my stock grill, and show you kind of the differences there. They tweaked them a little bit. I'm a much bigger fan of the GMC Sonoma grill, but everybody out there has done some sort of variation on these grills, and the one thing they don't change is they leave the lights in the same place. So I have an idea that I'm going to make a completely custom grill for this that nobody else has seen, and I'm going to make it from wood. Yep, you heard me right. I'm going to make a wood grill for this with a custom set of lights and a custom placement. It's going to look sick. I cannot wait to do that project with you guys, and it'll be later in the project. Most definitely going to do the roll cage, do something to the doors, finish out the edges on the cuts and everything, get the new seats in before I even consider messing with the grill. And then once all of that is done, we'll sand her down, we'll paint it, and then after I paint it, and I'll probably just paint it probably just primer, and then I'm going to dip it. I'm gonna spray dip this motherfucker so I can change the color down the line if I want to, not have to repaint it. So been watching a lot on how to dip vehicles, and I think that I could do this pretty easily for really cheap. So I'm gonna dip this, and I'm not gonna tell you guys the color, but I know what color it's gonna be, and it's gonna be pimp. So we'll do that here over the next few months as we get into this project. Also, I'm gonna switch out the wheels. These are the stock wheels. As you can tell, the owner before me put 29s on the back as opposed to the 27s that are stock, which are on front, kind of giving it that drag look. But really, honestly, it was to give more load capacity to the bed, since he put an 8-foot bed on it, and take a little more load out, or take a little bit more of the weight out of the rest of the truck and put it into bigger tires. And it works. I've actually had 2,000 pounds loaded on this thing, and it has driven just fine with no squat whatsoever. So guys, that's the S-10, what I like to affectionately call the dime vertible. And that's what I plan for. Make sure you guys hit the subscribe button if you like this content and want to see more of it. Make sure you hit the like button. Leave a comment below and let me know what you think I should do, what I should do to make this more special and make it stand out more, yet be friendly to still being a work truck and still being a grocery getter when I need it to. Thank you guys for watching, even though today's video was kind of useless. Thanks for watching anyway. Much love, you guys. We'll see you next time right here on Drink, Smoke, Build. Peace.